Hi, I'm Kelvin, and today I'm going to be showing you a very simple way to paint realistic skin on Android. Let's get into it. Okay, before we go into the painting proper, I'm going to give you a brief tour of IB's Paint interface. From on my left side, we have the transform tool, and then we have the magic wand, and then we have the lasso tool, and then you have filters. I don't use that. And then you have the brush. Now we are talking business. Okay, so your brush tool works the way your brush works in every other drawing app. With a brush you can make your art. This slider helps you increase and decrease your brush size. Okay, as you play with the brush size, you find out that you do get different kind of effects. Okay, and then this other slider help you reduce your brush opacity and increase your brush opacity. Now that's for the brush. The next tool is a eraser. It works just like the brush. You can actually reduce and increase your size, and then you can also reduce opacity. Like I'm going to bump up my size and then wipe the canvas clean. Underneath the brush we have the smudge tool. I hardly ever use it. Then we have the blot tool. I really don't use it. We have the paint bucket tool. This one comes in very handy. Like when you want to fill, you can actually use your paint bucket tool to fill. Okay, and then we have the text tool. I've never used it. And then you have your this tool. This one, I think, for those who like drawing comics. Eyedropper tool comes in handy. And then you have this canvas button, which helps you flip your canvas, resize your canvas, trim your canvas. It does all sort of things. Okay, those are the tools, the major tools you have. And then at the bottom here you have your brush settings. Here this helps you rotate between your brush and your eraser. Very handy. And this is your color palette, pick colors, mix colors, and all that. And then this is the undo button, and this is your layer stack. This button opens your layer panel. Here you can create a new layer, you can delete a layer, you can do all sort of things. We'll get into that later on. So in order to proceed with the tutorial, I've gone ahead to do a simple sketch of an arm so I can show you how I blend skin in this app. Sorry about the dog barking outside. It's actually my neighbor's dog. Okay, so the first thing I do is to create a layer underneath of my, get rid of that, underneath of my sketch layer. I just create a layer so I can start painting. And then the first thing I do is to paint in flat colors. Okay, so I'm going to choose a color and just go in and paint that in. It doesn't matter what kind of brush. You can choose any brush at this stage. As you can see, I'm using the free version, so I'm going to bump my opacity up and just color in this. Okay, so I'll just paint in my base color. The sketch is just to give me a guide. I'll get rid of it later. So okay. So once I have that outline, I can go in and fill in with colors just like this, and then I can pick any other color for shirt, flat colors for the shirt as well. Here, If we were doing a full blown painting, would have kept the shirts on a separate layer, but because we are doing just a very quick tutorial for a kind of beginner's guide on how to blend skin, so I'll go for a darker color, bump this up a little bit, and then I'm going to paint the inner part of my shirt like this. Okay, so that's what I flat. Now the next thing you want to do is add a new layer with this button and clip this layer to your first layers with the flat colors. That way, if I paint on this layer, I can't paint outside of it. Pretty cool. So yeah, by the way, to undo, just tap your 2 fingers on the screen, and that's undo. Then to redo, tap your 3 fingers at the same time. That's redo. That comes in handy. Okay, so next I'm going to change my brush to a normal airbrush with the normal settings. Keep it simple. I'll increase the size, reduce the opacity, and pick a darker. With my eyedropper tool, select this color and I'll go darker. Okay, and then I'll make sure my opacity is really low, my brush is large, and then I'll start painting in. Okay, start painting in to my skin just like this. I'm using a very soft airbrush. That way it's pretty easy to blend. Okay, now that is it. Try. Then at this point I'll pick my base color, go a little lighter. I'm careful not to get too saturated with the color. Reduce my opacity, reduce my brush a little, and then I'll just play my brush strokes at the middle, just to a little indication of light, just like that. Okay, all right, nothing too. Note I'm just slightly pushing my brush. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, select the darker color, and then now I'm going to go even darker, really dark, and then my opacity down, brush up. Then I'm just going to go over the edges to create the illusion of depth over the edges like this. Okay, over the edges. At this point we can actually get rid of our sketch layer. Okay, so I'll go here and turn off my sketch layer just like this, neatly, simple. And for this place where we have our shirt, this place is definitely going to be darker because the sleeve is actually casting a shadow. So you want to indicate that depth here. Okay, and then I'm going to go even deeper, and then just here like this. Okay, and then I'm going to reduce my brush and take the same dark color down like this. Okay, so now I can go ahead and add the background so I can actually see how it looks. I'll turn off everything, I set my background. I'll choose a neutral color, maybe green, and then I'll fill that into the background. Now turn on my drawing and my skin layer, and then you can actually see how it looks. So back on my shading layer, I'm going to pick my dark color and try to render. Now that I have a background, it's easier for me to see what the painting looks like. So I'm going to go in and render my drawing a little more, just a little. Okay, increase the opacity of my, and then go deeper, just like this. I'm going to try to illustrate that. Okay, then we are just concentrating on the skin for this tutorial, not the shirt, so I'm not bothering about the sleeve. Now we can begin to add some highlights to the skin, like this, and then we get that three-dimensional look to the skin. If you want, you could trim more light. Okay, so now there's something else we could do, and that is to spice up our drawing a little bit by adding indication of light to our background to create the illusion of depth. So I'll come here with my airbrush. I'm going to try to paint just like this. And then I'm going to indicate my light source. Nothing fancy, just to indicate that my light is coming from here. Okay, then if we want to, we could actually go ahead and create another layer, clip it as well. Then we can, on this layer, begin to add some color variations to, just to create some variety on the skin if you want to. And then we could as well go a little bit darker here, just to, what I would do is to set this layer to overlay, so that way it interacts better with the layer beneath. And then I'll also do the same thing here, just to get that touch. Okay, that is about how far I intend to take this, because I don't want this video to get too long. Okay, so I've gone ahead to spend another 3 minutes to just try to render a little bit more and clean it up, and you can see how it looks. We actually made this in about 12 minutes. I think that is a good and simple way to render skin. So I hope you did learn something from this tutorial. Make sure you like, subscribe, and do share with your friends. I'll see you in the next tutorial.